Welcome in, everybody. It's June, and it's also week 2 of the SPL. I'm Agro. I'm going to be your host for the day on the desk right now, joined by Anatoly. And Toli, we got a lot of sick matchups today.
I'm really excited for all of these. We're going to start things off with Enix against Burrito, but then we're going to have another European set at the end of the day. That most important one, Energy against Obey Alliance.
Yeah, what a set that's going to be. A Worlds rematch there between those two teams. But got to know what all these guys are playing for in the summer split. It's not only for pride and honor and all that kind of good stuff, but it's for a chance to go to DreamHack Valencia in July. 8 teams. I have been looking forward to this since I was born. That's the way it feels. It feels like time has just been dragging along because, man, I just want to go to Spain.
Can it just be summer already? Can it be already the end of week 5?
It's already getting close, totally. We're in week number 2. Let's take a look at the standings and see where everyone is after their first week of play. We're going to start it off with Europe and Dignitas alone at the top. They're 2-0 on the split. They got 6 points up top. Enix is right there with them, though, in that second point. Look at how many teams are locked up with 1 point apiece. But Enix and Burrito, the first 2 teams we're going to see, have a pretty big disparity of 4 points in between them.
They played 2 sets earlier on last week on Thursday. Enix is going to play again, splitting against Obey Alliance and winning against Poppies. But in North American side of things, surprisingly enough, 3 teams tied for that 4-point position.
All up on top, Luminosity, ALG, and Monkey Madness. We're going to see MM a little bit later on. Noble still looking for their first points up against Monkey Madness. Take a look at the schedule and see exactly where all these teams are going to be playing in what order today. You got 2 EU sets, 2 NA sets. Both the NAs are sandwiched in the middle, but those EU games are certain to be really exciting to watch. Even Enix versus Burrito, even though this matchup probably looks a little one-sided on paper, totally, we've only seen Burrito once so far this split. And up against Dig, who's in that first spot. So
sure.
It's tough to say exactly how much potential this Burrito team has.
Absolutely. Their junglers, though, Dzoni has been making a little bit of a statement here thus far for his teammates. Going against Enix is no easy task, though. And considering they went against Dignitas, that was a tough journey ahead of them. But this one against Enix, it's not going to be any easier.
No, it won't be. But let's start with set number 2 for today, the first North American set. That's going to be Monkey Madness up against Noble. And you mentioned the junglers for Burrito and for Enix, but I want to talk about these junglers as well. Homie FA versus Skilladon. These are 2 that have very different play styles, Atoli.
Sure, Skilladon always loves to play these mobile gods, likes to get in your face and make the plays for his teammates. Coming off of a really impressive run in the Gauntlet with Oxygen Supremacy, really shows what he's capable of with a very high, flexible god pool. Doesn't matter if he's playing this Thor that you see on your screen, or if he's playing the Chang'e, Raven, Susanoo, he'll play it all.
Yeah, Hebo as well. He's really got quite a big god pool, but definitely has some very high highs, can carry games with the best of them without a doubt, but also has some lows on there as well, so you have to watch out for how consistent Skilladon is going to be. On the other side, Homie FA is kind of the opposite of that for me, Toli. His highs are very high, yes, but he very rarely drops and has a very poor set.
As long as he's not playing that out in the jungle,
sure.
Homie FA's been making a lot of plays as the assassin role coming out of the jungle. He'll also like to play the Camozots every now and then, relying on his teammates to have the control necessary while he provides the big damage.
You took the words right out of my mouth. With Camozots becoming more meta and being a little bit more prevalent for every team, I think that really benefits Monkey Madness here because of how strong Homie FA is on the Camozots. He was really the first player to really say, this is a god that I really enjoy playing and I think has a ton of competitive viability. The Homiezots, I mean, there it is.
At least on the jungle side, Divios was always talking about this god in the solo lane, so a lot of diversity and a lot of creativity in the jungle role coming out of Homie FA as well.
These guys are going to have a great matchup in that set too. You can see the player versus player comparison at the bottom of your screen. Skilladon and the rest of Noble had a pretty tough set week 1, so their stats probably not going to be particularly impressive, but Homie FA is definitely a guy that you can continue to see have those kind of stats moving forward.
And this is a great start for them, considering there's only 5 weeks in this split thus far, trying to get into Valencia. Monkey Madness getting off to a great start, compared to Luminosity, who's also tied with them at 4 points. And Luminosity is usually one of these teams that sets the bar, so a lot of North American teams catching up to that team.
Well, that's enough about North America, at least to start us off. Let's start with Enix and Burrito. It's going to be our first set of the day. As we mentioned, Burrito hasn't played 2 sets quite yet. They only had 1, and it was up against Team Dignitas, who came in second during the spring split here at the Masters LAN. What do you expect out of Burrito today?
I think Burrito is going to try to make some plays happen in the duo lane. Enix has been known to run a lot of 1v2 action for Funballer in the duo lane, leaving him alone to farm, while BigManTingz likes to rotate and make other plays on the opposite sides of the map. So I'm expecting the Russian duo lane here between Fusify and Kespainify to be able to try to take advantage.
Well, they certainly have their work cut out for them going up against BigManTingz and Funball, who have had really, really great showings in Season 4. Funball playing with a new support for the first time in years, always playing with Trix Tank in that duo lane, but he and BMT certainly making it happen for Enix. You talked about the duo lane for Burrito. I'm looking at this guy, Dzoni, their jungler. Always seems to have that big play potential. Certainly showed that off in the relegations. Just a matter of if you can do it up against such a strong roster for Enix. Enix made a couple changes coming into the summer split, dropping their jungle and solo, picking up Faeles and Ducky. And these are two young guys paired with the veteran team of Enix that I think really skyrockets their potential.
You took the words right out of my mouth. The new blood mixing with the old season veteran team between Lawbster and Funballer should lead these three newer players to the promised land.
I mean, Enix is definitely one of those teams that I think, they had a great start to start off the spring split and then kind of fell off towards the end. But man, do they have a ton of potential. I mean, this is a team that I think, with their roster changes, has a potential to compete for Worlds.
Absolutely. Enix already so far so good. Getting 3 points against Poppies, a split against Obey Alliance, and they're pretty much right behind Dignitas in the race for that #1 spot.
They're right there sitting in with that 4 points so far. And with how competitive Europe is, it's going to be difficult for them to really guarantee their spot at Valencia. I mean, there used to be in previous seasons of competitive Smite, it was, okay, you got your top maybe 2 or 3 teams, and then everywhere else there was kind of that drop-off there. But in Europe, there are 5 teams, or maybe even 6, that have that potential to not only go to DreamHack Valencia, but make some noise at Super Regionals and at Worlds.
And there's only 4 spots for those European teams. Think about this. It's Rival, Energy, Enix, Obey Alliance, Dignitas. Those are the top 5 that you're looking at out of Europe specifically, and only 4 of those teams can make it.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that top 5 is just preposterous, basically, at how strong they all are. That's why Europe is considered the superior region right now. They've just got so many teams that are playing at such a high level that you're forced to continue to get better every week, or else you're going to fall behind. As far as this week goes, though, Toli, how do you think this set is going to go? Do you have any faith in Burrito here?
It's a very difficult set in week 1 against Dignitas. If anything, I'm looking at Burrito to still experiment in picks and bans, target some of the flex favorite picks coming out of Enix, and then look to really start going off with the early momentum for Dzoni. He didn't get off to a great start against Dignitas with a Thor. Now it's time to show us all what he really has.
Early game is important for Burrito, without a doubt. We're ready to go. Picks and bans for set #1, Burrito versus Enix. Throw it to the casters to take it away.
Thanks so much, guys. Taco joining me alongside me for the Enix versus Burrito set here. Enix, obviously, favorites coming into this Taco. And that guys in the desperate talking about Burrito, you know, it's probably a learning experience more than anything else for them here.
For Burrito, I'd say the main aspect would certainly be just trying to gain as much, I guess, experience to try and take that with you to develop and further build on.
Yeah, main thing with Enix so far is they're off to a good start. They're considered one of the top teams now. How will they do as the season progresses against Energy, Obey, and continue on that form? Already showing some good signs early on.
Enix is a very promising team so far, like Toli just mentioned on the desk. When you're looking at a top 5 contending area and only 4 teams qualifying to Valencia, Enix have certainly placed themselves as one of those primary contenders, splitting with Obey Alliance so early on.
Well, let's get into picks and bans and then find out how game 1 will break down between these 2 teams. Burrito have their opportunity now to try and get themselves some points under their belt here. So as we go into picks and bans, we'll see how Enix do up against them. Who are we expecting to take first pick, and what bans are we expecting? I guess is more interesting.
I would expect standard bans to come through, probably looking at Ganesh as well on the side of EU. I would say probably carries over into NA as well. Very strong support gameplay. Terra is another very expected ban. Her sustainability and favorability has been very high as of late as well.
Yeah, the amount of control she brings to team fights with the crushing walls as well as the monolith too really helps out. So Enix is going to take that one away. Don't want to pick it for themselves. Maybe looking for that Ganesha for a first pick if it's available. But no, they're going to ban double supports here.
And nothing wrong with taking away the supports. A lot of supports can translate into map pressure, so you eliminate that aspect and you're already setting yourself up in a fairly nice spot. And it is going to be Burrito, again, eliminating the Fafnir, and I also like them taking away Circuit.
Osiris, Bellona available here, Ravana available too, and Ravana's going to be the one locked in by Eanix here. More than likely for the jungle, can be used in the solo lane as we've seen towards the end of last week and the start of the split.
It wouldn't surprise me to see it be flexed into that solo lane role, especially having a member such as Ducky. He's fairly versatile, so I do believe that he could definitely play that if his team required it, and if Faeles wanted to go in a different direction.
Well, Burrito going to sort out their damage dealers for the most part. Sol more than likely now in the mid lane, Cernunnos in the duo lane. They can flip-flop, but we don't really see too many of the mage version of Hunters anymore in the duo lane. Mainly, it'll be Cernunnos, I expect. But look at this, Enix now able to pick up Bellona and Ravana on the same team and throw in a Morrigan too.
That's an incredibly tanky front line, and if I'm Burrito, I'm keeping my eyes on a Nemesis pick here, but they're going to elect for the Osiris instead. That's still a very strong choice to go with, especially considering that that's a fair matchup, whether he's going to be against that Ravana or the Bellona.
Do agree with the Nemesis that you were talking about there. I hope Enix do look at potentially banning that one away from Burrito, taking it to the jungle now. Specifically when you've got Ravana and Bellona, very tanky targets, Nemesis just shreds through, especially if you include Sunder as well.
They do have to keep in mind, though, that there is a Morrigan available for Enix, so if they were to elect for the Nemesis pickup, that could potentially be used against them, depending on where the rest of their composition is headed. I love the Khepri ban, though, coming out from Enix. They don't want to provide any sort of survivability to Burrito, and Khepri is so strong at keeping that soul alive, especially.
A lot of Guardian bands coming out here, Taco. Obviously, Fafnir, Kabrak, and Khepri, Ganesh, Terra. Means the support options are kind of limited now. Where are we heading to next? Sylvanas, is it? Is it Geb? Or is it Xing 10?
It's Xing 10. And
wow.
For Enix, I don't disagree with this in the slightest, because Xing 10 also is excellent against those damaged carries, and especially the ADC-oriented ones like Kern and Sol. So he's going to be excellent for dealing with those guys. And then the Huyi as well, a lot of AoE focus already placed into Enix's draft.
Definitely, Funballer going to have a whale of a time playing that Huyi, probably up against the Cernunnos as we expect here. And Bacchus is the final pick for Burrito here. So they did, I was wondering if they were going to go for maybe a Geb here for some more survivability for the front line, but instead they've gone for additional engage with this Bacchus, able to allow the flops to come through, so it's not just Thor on the initial engagements.
Having the Bacchus, Thor, and Osiris, you can choose really any of those three members to be the engaging factor, and Burrito is going to have a solid amount of backline peel available for them as well.
Well, backline peel is very important for Burrito as we go into game now. How will Enix start this off? Is there a team that has an advantage in the early game here, Taco?
I would probably place the advantage on Enix's side, actually, just considering that it is a Ravana and a Morrigan running that mid jungle. It is going to be Faeles on the Ravana, and you just can't ever really go wrong with that. But one nice little spicy, yeah, that's a spicy matchup. This is something that doesn't surprise me to see from BigManTingz, though. It's something that he's messed around before when he was on Dignitas, and he loves trying to place those warriors into the support aspect.
And he started off with Sunder as well, so definitely looking for a potential kill lane here at Enix. However, Burrito, the same sort of thing. Fusify has picked up the Sunder to go with that Bacchus, and that combination is beautiful as well of Bacchus with Sunder. He's not going to be too upset about the burst potential he's going to have for him.
If he gets a flop onto anybody, they're almost guaranteed dead if somebody's available for follow-up, considering that Sunder just makes Bacchus so potent early on.
Well, pressure on the left-hand side from Enix in the duo lane, and you can see Burrito trying to take that red buff, have secured it, give it over to Kespainify in the jungle. But with BigManTingz and Funballer running them down, they're going to try and deny them that whole wave of experience in the duo side.
Losing the whole wave of experience could be deadly, but now Fusify's already gone to Funballer in the back line. Both Sunders, both supports actually popping the Sunder, but the wall is going to cut Funballer off from that Ricochet connecting, and that's a lucky break for Kespainify.
But Kespainify is going to be forced back to base here, so more farm is probably going to get denied by Enix in this duo lane. We turn our attention back towards the mid lane a little bit there. You can see the pressure that's happening from Sol and Thor up against a Morrigan Ravana. Kind of expected to see Sol and Thor win the push power wave.
You can expect them to win the push power wave, but at the same time, the Morrigan and the Ravana combination are strong enough to guarantee secure for your own buffs at least.
Bit of a duel in the jungle here. Funballer is a bit out of position, was looking for an option to jump over the wall. Instead, he's going to jump back to safety, but it's not very far away. The Stellar Burst is good. One more hit for Funballer. The beads was actually used to remove the slow. Dzoni's doing the same thing. The Berserker Barrage will pick up first blood, and Burrito are on the board.
Not to mention they got his beads there as well, and that is just so devastating as a hunter to lose your beads this close to level 5 stage, because as soon as Dzoni hits level 5, you can guarantee he's probably going to be looking to ult Funballer in that dual lane if he's not careful with his positioning.
And funny enough, Taco, that was a pressure for dual lane for Eanix in the dual lane. Burrito had pressure in the mid lane, and then the contest in the jungle just didn't work out in Enix's favor. Funballer chose the wrong path in there, I think.
I don't think Funballer should have strayed as far away from BigManTingz as he did there. A little bit of miscommunication as well, because it didn't seem as though BigManTingz was even looking towards trying to help him contest anywhere on the map for farm right in that center area. So probably should have backed off a little bit sooner than what he did, but it's something I think that this team can certainly bounce back from.
Well, I know Aggro and Toli were talking about what they expected out of Dzoni today, playing that Thor once again, and he's off to that first blood kill for himself. Will help him to get his build online a little bit quicker. BigManTingz in the dual lane taking a lot of damage for not responding with too much, but with Funballer coming through with that ricochet, it does even things up a little bit, as Enix on the right-hand side of the map will secure the elementals.
One concern that Enix could have potentially had, but the Xing 10 is actually going to save them from, is that running a warrior support can be a bit risky, as you don't necessarily get the same amount of heal as you would from a Guardian, but because of Ducky being on that Xing 10, as the game progresses, they're going to be looking just fine, I think, so long as he doesn't fall too far behind.
BigManTingz is waiting in the jungle there, now back to make sure he helps clear the way with a ricochet and bludgeon. And you talked a little bit about Bellona support having this Xing 10. Are we expecting Ducky then to play backline for the team and team fights? Look to try and clean up and support his team? Or is it going to be Big Man that's going to do that with the Eagles rally?
I would expect Big Man to be the initiating factor for Enix, because it's just so much easier for a Bellona to just charge in there, especially since the ultimate provides so much protection for the team fighting environment, and then Ducky can very easily follow that up after actives have been burned and just provide that safety net in the backline for his carries.
Well, Enix just a little bit behind in terms of the clearing of the dual lane now, allowing Burrito to hit level 5 a quick hair faster than their opposition. Funballer still sat at level 4 now. Mid lane, though, bit of a difference there. Lawbster's off to a very good start on this Morrigan, already level 6. DeathPanter slightly trailing.
Nothing wrong with that, though. It's still that early stage of the game to where neither side is really looking to play super aggressively. If anything, I'd expect Dzoni and DeathPanter to be the more aggressive factors, just because a Thor has better initiation early on, but you can never really know what to expect from these season teams.
Nothing really up in the jungle for anyone to really contest right now. Left hop is half spawned, and only BigManTingz is here. Right-hand side, you can see Faeles has gone over to his own speed buff, however, to make sure he secures that, so it's Big Man fighting the world here. He does go 1-for-1 though, so he's not doom and gloom into support. Luckily, he was playing a warrior that could secure it.
And Bellona, that's probably one of the best parts about her early game, is that she has so much contest available, and his follow-up potential is really strong as well, just because even though he's not building the most damage...
BigManTingz just got bursted to high heaven. That was a Sunder belly flop Fusify all in combo with the support of DeathPanter from mid lane there, who secured the kill. We didn't catch it on camera, but you can clearly see what happened with the ultimates being down and the Sunder.
That's the main thing to look out for. You never know where the big man goes, and Fusify managed to just catch him off guard entirely.
Just rotating around the jungle looking for defense. Burrito, though, going to invade the red buff now, using the man advantage to just give him that window of experience, deny some of that gold from Lawbster, as well as the extra damage buff.
Loving this pressure that Burrito is applying onto Enix as well. They're trying to capitalize off these picks that they're acquiring, and I think that's the most important part.
Oh, Faeles is in a bit of trouble here. He's going to have to get away very soon. The ultimate well timed to avoid the wall coming out from Dzoni, but Johnny's on the spot right now looking for Faeles. Will connect with it, but there's a ricochet from Funballer to try and deny it. One more hit and Faeles would have gone down, but instead it's Funballer credited with a kill.
And that's just a little bit more than what he should have been going for. And now it's BigManTingz who might find himself in danger as well. The root is good from Kespainify, but they need to disengage immediately. Lawbster's there with the Morrigan available, and he's looking to pursue, but...
Oh, Tinks is going to fall down any second now. Sibi's going to be able to clean this one up for sure. It's Fusify that gets credit for the kill, but the most important thing is Kespainify survived the engagement. Lawbster switched into Thor, but couldn't really make the impact he was looking for.
The most drawn-out pursuit of all time. But it's not over yet. Sibi's actually being caught off guard, trying to back away safely. And now it's Funballer. He's got the ricochet available. Is he going to find it? It does connect.
And that's going to be a nice, easy cleanup for Faeles after the stun comes through. Ducky sat in the solo lane the entire time, just continuing to farm up there. That rotation for Sibi didn't really work out as well as they were hoping for.
The rotation from Sibi was great up until it just took a little bit too long to secure that kill. When you're expending that much time and preventing your opponent to just free farm for so long, especially a Xing 10 that an Osiris is excellent at pressuring out, this is all in favor of Ducky.
And on top of that, when you think about it, you saw the rotation come out from him. It was the lazy back from Sibi that really cost him. He was trying to back around the corner, gets picked off, gives Eanix a nice, easy free kill, and actually allows Faeles in the jungle to catch up a little bit to Dzoni.
Excellent map awareness by Enix. They kind of had that feeling, whether or not they had the ward vision. I don't believe they even had the ward vision onto Sibi. They just wanted to check that area, happen to see him, and immediately look for the kill.
Well, just looking at the builds coming through here, you can see both supports have gone for very, very similar options. Watcher's Gift into Boots. Obviously, Boots are a little bit different, but then followed it up with a Vanguards early on. Are we expecting to see more Thebes after that now as the next item choice?
Aura items are particularly strong, especially for supports, so Thebes would be a good selection. You also have the Sovereignty and Heart Ward. Faeles trading out pretty evenly there,
he got
not
at least
losing
one.
too much poke.
I think he got at least one of those Oracle, so those left-hand Harpies as well, so he won't be all doom and gloom for him thanks to that overhead kick. Burrito not really looking towards the Gold Fury, neither is Eanix right now. War Courage a little bit lackluster compared to some of the games we saw last week from all these teams.
You know, another thing to consider though is that Sibi dying, he died to Funballer. And that actually helped Funballer catch up to Kespainify.
Yeah, especially after that first blood kill onto Funballer as well. So you are correct, it has allowed him to catch up, and you can just see by the net worth there where they're both about now. 4.5k for Funballer, and just below him at 4.3k is Kespainify. But in the jungle, Faeles is sleeping tonight. Dzoni goes down before he can get to the sky though to make it a 1-for-1. Jungle for jungle.
And that's probably best case scenario for Enix, I'd say, considering that it was Faeles who actually dropped first. If Dzoni had been able to get that ultimate off, that would have been pretty devastating, considering that he could have easily backed and then his team looked for the aggression onto that Gold Fury area. And right now, Burrito's only got their eyes on the Oracles, and having that ward vision is going to be very important. And also, Funballer's got to be even more careful now.
And is it just because he's not got vision around that area now for safety and the rotation could come out? Is that why you're saying that?
Well, DeathPanter is playing the Soul. Soul's probably one of the best gods in the game as far as objective shred is concerned.
Okay.
Just because she completely tears them apart with the way that her auto attacks work. And so if Enix are caught sleeping at any point, then Burrito can definitely grab up that Gold Fury.
It's been quite action-packed so far. 7 kills in 9 minutes. We've not seen too much of this so far, this split. Specifically when you think about how the games have gone, where normally it's been 10-15 minutes of farming into one major team fight that's kind of cost the team of the game. But so far, it's still relatively even between these two.
Teams are starting to get a little bit more of a feel, and they also want to just look for that early aggressive meta, because the more aggressive they have early on, the better it will lead, or the better chance they have of leading into that snowball potential.
Well, Lawbster in the mid lane, still playing that Morrigan away, slowly working towards his build. I'm expecting probably Spear of Desolation up next for him. Across the way, though, DeathPanter looking like he's going to be finished off the Bancroft's Talent first. So 2 different builds for 2 different types of mage.
And so it's more oriented towards the lifesteal potential, especially considering that while she's not necessarily considered a carry anymore, as a mage, she still can overlap into that carry potential. So building up that early lifesteal, and it's a massive power spike as well. 100
power on it, not just, you know, not just the lifesteal that comes into play, but 100 power is a lot. When you think about it and when you get it right home, red buff gotta go the way of Burrito here as Dzoni gets some help from Fusify there, but it has allowed a bit of pressure for Enix around this Gold Fury here. They pulled it for a moment, as you can see from Funballer, but I think they're more than likely looking for a bait.
And Dzoni immediately up into the sky he goes. Fusify is actually the one getting the worst end of this. Dzoni's ultimate off the mark, and BigManTingz is the next target in mind.
Lawbster came in though with the Morrigan as Thor instead, looking for Dzoni now, who doesn't have his ultimate available. Nobody really super healthy from Enix though to really look to dive the tower, but they did find 2 picks there, Enix. They set up a trap and the trap ended up working out.
The 2-for-nothing trade though is completely against Burrito, because now that Enix is grouped up along this right-hand side, I was going to say they could potentially look for the Portal Demon and that tiny bit of aggression. It certainly prevents Burrito for looking at that early objective though.
It's very funny to see how much pressure they put on Fusify very quickly there. They tried to all in him before he could get most of his damage off. Sunder wasn't used. The Intoxicate bought him a small moment, but there was just no chance of a follow-up from Burrito in time to save their support's life, and then following that, DeathPanter fell too.
I think that Fusify hesitated a little bit, waiting to see who would be the primary target for the Sunder, considering that I'm sure the communication was there from Dzoni. He just got CC'd out, and then once he was un-CC'd, all he really had the time for was to get the AoE damage and Intoxicate effect off.
Well, Gold Fury still stands. The Oracle's about to respawn. BigManTingz over this left-hand side, just trying to farm up where he can. Kespainify and Fusify, the Russian brothers of doom in the dual lane, are hanging around here. We're looking for a bit of a cheeky rotation if they could find it. Catch somebody sleeping as they walk around the corner. Instead, they went back to wave, and it gave Enix the Oracles for free.
I know that Enix are certainly more than happy to secure those oracles for free. Against the Thor as your opposition, there's never anything wrong with having ward vision, especially free ward vision that's guaranteed in that Gold Fury objective area.
So Teko, as we're now starting to approach the mid-game now, we're just coming towards the end of that. Holds a second, Ducky under a bit of pressure here, was looking to steal the blue and did so. Has to run from Dzoni and Sibi, who are trying to give chase right now, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up in time. Ducky has enough escape potential to get away. Going back to my point though, now that we're approaching the mid-game, Teko, is there a team that should have done better in the early game, or is this what you kind of expected from these compositions? I
think Enix could have been a little bit more put together in that early game standpoint. I think that they had a couple of awkward moments from getting picked early on, Funballer for example, dropping first blood, and then a little bit of awkward engagements in the jungle, but I'd say for the most part they came back from that quite well considering their draft, and now they're just sitting really pretty because Ducky is massively farmed.
Ricochet from Funballer didn't hit Kespainify there. If it did, the stun would have come through, and you can see where Faeles was just hanging around this right-hand side, hoping for an opportunity to box and get in him. Kespainify has been baited in a little bit by Funballer now. The Sunder off the mark. If he would have rooted first, he would have secured the Sunder. Instead, though, they do get the Aegis out of him, so it's not all doom and gloom for Enix there.
A bit unlucky by Faeles there. It's one of those moments where you kind of... He anticipated, I think, the dash to already start happening, but I don't think Kespainify was even aware in the slightest that he had Faeles right behind him because the Sunder was just slightly ahead.
Stun on Panther, and he's already been bursted down by the Ricochet. The dot tick won't be enough to bring him down, but this is opening up a window for Enix to do the Gold Fury. Still, only BigManTingz tanking it up with Funballer doing most of the damage. Zone duty is Faeles and Lawbster, and there's Faeles going in, trying to force Kespainify out, knowing he has no Aegis, but meanwhile, Fusify was just ricocheted off a wall. Lawbster credit for the kill. Dzoni rooted in place after the hammer, but he will escape. The Gold Fury now still exposed for Enix to take.
Big Man Sunder just came up huge there for Enix, completely shredding Fusify. He didn't even have a chance to react to that.
Really good work coming out there from Enix. You can see BigManTingz, the securer of that, one of the new additions we've got for the league this year. I'm so excited about that. We can see who actually got the Gold Fury. Not just a team, but we can find out which player.
And, I mean, Big Man putting in all the work.
Tell me about it, clearly. Tell you, supports are always the ones that I think we'll find out as we watch this more and more. Supports secure more of the objectives than anything. Or auto attacks.
And when those free ones are happening, though, he's playing Bellona, to be fair. It's nobody's contesting that from Burrito anymore, but losing that Gold Fury is pretty rough because now Enix has actually established their very first lead of the game. I like this response by Burrito, though, to try and get off this cheeky portal demon.
But it's been sniffed out by Enix early on here. Lawbster and Ducky both on the scene, and Ducky happy to go aggressive here just because he's that tanky Xing 10 with Breastplate of Valor and the Hide of the Urchin online. It's going to take a lot to bring him down, and that well-timed ultimate to avoid the Bacchus flop allows him to just walk away scot-free and deny the small pressure Burrito had around that portal demon.
Not to mention that Fusify just burned his Sunder there for nothing.
Just looking for the pick more than anything.
Just looking for the pick, and Ducky, well played to him to immediately recognize that. And I think that's what prompted the ultimate to begin with, because normally I don't think he would expend it there, but once you get sundered, your primary focus is just escaping.
Well, I don't think Faeles knew Dzoni was waiting around the corner there. The afterlife onto Ducky on the backside from Sibi. Ducky diving the tower looking for Dzoni a little bit more. Faeles in a bit of trouble here as well, thanks to the ultimate coming out from DeathPanter, and the burst damage from Intoxicate, and Panter's in hand is enough for one. They're going to find Ducky as well, potentially. If Dzoni could have landed that ultimate. He's still running for his life, Ducky, though, but one more hit from Osiris should be enough to bring him down. They're still trying to buy time. The disarm has kept Ducky up a little bit longer. Eventually he'll fall, and now BigManTingz is going to dip out of this too. Burrito making plays on the right-hand side and not really punished at all by Enix anywhere else on the map.
That is just so incredibly unfortunate for Enix, but what a well-played team fight by Burrito. The execution was pretty much flawless.
Comes in, the Morrigan is here, or should we say Thor was looking for the wall for the double tap, but Sibi cancelled it out with a tether, and that stopped the aggression, because I think Sibi would have fallen down there for sure, Taco.
100% Sibi would have gone down, and I actually thought that was Dzoni for a moment going back into the sky, and I was like, wait a second, something's not right here.
That's the one thing about Morrigan, you're always going to be aware that there's two of everything potentially on the map. So Lawbster doing nice little work trying to rotate over there, put some pressure on, trying to answer back, but didn't find any kills. And because of that, the gold lead is still in Enix's favor, even though Burrito got the kills. They didn't get many objectives off that, and neither did Enix. They just continued to farm up.
And that rotation by Lawbster actually prevented Burrito from securing the Team 1 tower in Soul Lane, which would have closed or lessened that gap between the goal disparity, but I do think that Burrito still came out on top overall, so long as they don't permit any free objectives towards Eanix, such as the Portal Demon, for example.
And you just saw the wards go down by Eanix there around the Portal Demon, using these sentries to try and secure the vision, force Burrito to potentially face check and get themselves out of position, just like DeathPanter got smoked for half his health then for a moment. That was just a bludgeon. There was no Sunder used there at all.
No Sunder, and that just goes to show how squishy Soul is. Faeles looking for the aggressive route here, but unable to find the route, and now it's actually him who's getting turned on.
Faeles
He's trying to get out of the situation.
In a lot of trouble. Hasn't used any sort of form of escape just yet. Johnny's in the sky though, looking towards Funballer, who's trying to rotate around the back. Beats Aegis burnt by Funballer. He's still in trouble. Looking to leap over the wall, goes back towards his team. A better, safer option. The solo laners are now on their way.
And well played by Funballer to not just immediately panic jump away into the jungle, because had he done so, I'm 100% convinced that Dzoni would have chased after him, no questions asked.
Sibi versus Ducky going on. Burrito turned up a little bit quicker than Eanix, but Lawbster's there on the front lines looking to stun Fusify. Eagles running onto the back line. DeathPanter's one hit from death. The blue stone will be enough to bring him down. The sun's rain down from Funballer, securing another. Sibi's on his last legs right now, as is Kespainify. 4 members dead in seconds of Burrito.
That gas pedal that Enix just placed onto Burrito was absolutely crushing, and now it's only Dzoni left to defend, and I don't see how he gets inside of this Portal Demon against a 4-man strong team.
I like the idea of the double tap attempt and nothing more. There's not much you can really do there. Look at the player damage in that team fight though, 7,000 to 3,000. No golden experience for Burrito whatsoever, and clearly no kills either.
Excellent recognition by Enix though to start pulling that Portal Demon further away from the wall, kind of probably expecting Dzoni to look for that cheeky double tap. So if they pull it away, that's an easy secure every single time for them, and now they're just going straight for the Fire Giant.
And nobody's actually here from Burrito to defend. Dzoni went to the left-hand side thinking, no, Eanix probably won't go for the Fire Giant this early on just yet, but it's a different story. Fire Giant the way of Eanix, and now the game is definitely in their control.
And see, that time was the carry. Funballer.
Yeah, you're right. We saw Funballer the Ricochet. We can keep track of that all season now. Like, okay, who secures the most Fire Giants and Gold Furies? Keep an eye on that going forward. DeathPanter in mid lane, a little bit out of position, but Johnny's in a worse spot. Already dead, picked up by Faeles. Sunder was used there to secure the kill as mid lane tier 1 tower being sieged down with Funballer and that Fire Giant buff.
As soon as Faeles' ultimate went off onto Dzoni, he was committing to that one, like, no question. Like, he just had to go in. And BigManTingz is not giving DeathPanter any breathing room.
This is getting a little bit crazy now. Look at where DeathPanter is on the player damage on this support Bellona as well. 3rd highest behind Ducky, who, let's be honest, he's going to get a lot of free poke off in lane as a solo laner. And top of the charts is Lawbster on that Morrigan.
I liked how that little ricochet right there. That
Look at the double taps.
it was just the ricochet went in a perfect triangle around Sibi by Funballer. It's always fun when that happens.
Does feel like Burrito kind of, after that team fight around the Portal Demon, just kind of lost the map completely there. They lost Fire Giant, they gave up Gold Fury for free, they went back to farm, and they lost a tier 1 tower mid, they lost a tier 1 tower left, and this is all in the last minute or two.
It seemed as though they got a little bit too relaxed after securing those kills, because they're like, okay, our engage and team fighting is really strong, this was an excellent team fight, we can farm up a little bit, but Enix just immediately turned up the pressure, and that's a really smart thing to do, because a lot of teams, typically after you lose a team fight or an engagement like that, and hold that thought, it could have been some engaged right there, but right now, Burrito are just looking to forfeit their T2 to Enix.
Gonna have to. This is just good rotations from Enix. They drag everybody from the team of Burrito to the left-hand side, then they rotate to the mid and cut off the jungle pathing to try and secure and defend the tier 2 themselves. So they get a free tier 2 in mid, and now they head back again to the left-hand side.
But like I was saying, though, it's just that these teams that don't have as much experience in competitive yet, because this is one of the relegations teams, they don't really expect so much pressure after a team has just lost a team fight.
Yeah, a lot of players on Burrito, rookies for their first split here. It's definitely going to be a learning experience. Fusify stunned in place by the Ricochet. Ducky was looking to follow up with the support of Lawbster there. There wasn't enough. You can see Dzoni in the jungle, though, hanging around, looking for an ult opportunity. But Lawbster's smelt out that jungler. He's seen that story before from junglers just hanging around the corner, looking to pressure.
I think Lawbster has the same thought in mind as Dzoni, though. He just wants to find the Thor ultimate, most likely, to try and go in and assist his team with the secure.
Dzoni's being pushed out of the jungle, back behind his tier 2 tower. Now going to engage on Lawbster, knowing actual silence is down right now, but Fusify's in a bit of trouble on the front side here. The Suns are in it from Funballer, and nobody actually dead from either team just yet. But the health bars on Enix are getting low, as are the members of Burrito. Already dead is Fusify. Johnny's going to get out with barely 1 health. Sibi is on his last legs too, and with Faeles coming in, that's a dead solo laner.
And the double Ravana ult is just so devastating for Burrito. First it was Lawbster, and this when you think that it's over, Faeles immediately re-engaging with his ultimate. And now the T2's all in favor for Enix. They're just going to fall back, but they can spend up that gold for free. They didn't drop anybody, and sure, it might have taken them a little bit longer than what they wanted, but Enix ultimately still achieved what they were looking for.
So Taka, we've not mentioned it just yet. I've been waiting to find a moment to, but the relic situation in this game so far, I believe there's 3 braces of undoing in this game over the likes of beads or even Aegis in some of these options here. Why is Brace of Undoing all of a sudden starting to get picked up? Is it because of Sunder?
Brace is probably one of the best actives for trying to compensate for that Sunder, just because the damage that you take, you can heal up in a quick burst. It's similar to the old Soul Eater, for instance.
Okay.
And it's only the way when you gain that much health back instantly, plus the cooldowns aspect, you get so much on your cooldowns, and it's an excellent fighting factor.
And you can see that it's the 2 tanks of Enix with BigManTingz on the Bellona and Faeles on the Ravana that have elected to go with that alongside Sunder. And the same can be said for Fusify on the Bacchus here. No sort of defensive relics for the team. It's actually aggressive relic like Sunder and the Brace of Undoing for himself if he does get aggressed on.
Both sides are just looking to try and get out their damage as quickly as possible and look for the re-engages. They don't really have any strong sustainability from either side, other than a couple of self-heals. And I think for the most part, it's just better to look for that all-in possibility.
Keep an eye on Faeles, trying to swing around the back. Ducky going to engage and get aggro there. You saw BigManTingz go straight in with that Eagles rally too. Left-hand side, you saw the Fusify was all on that side as the Bacchus alone, which means this was a 4v5 up against an Enix that are further ahead. Sibi's now fighting 3 underneath his tower. The juggle of aggro from Enix very, very strong. The backside, Faeles still boxing against 2. Fusify turns up late to the fight to find out his dual lane buddy's already dead.
And Johnny trying to go face-to-face with Lawbster, who just Morrigan ults into Thor, and he just completely shut him out of that fight, which was such great map awareness by Lawbster because he prevented Johnny from committing onto Funballer in the backline.
And this Paul Demon now going to go the way of Enix as well. I could understand why Fusify was in the dual lane. He's only level 13 at the time. He was trying to get some farm, especially when you look at BigManTingz, who's at level 19 right now on his support. His mirror match to an extent. Fusify did need a few levels to get a little bit tankier, but when you send one of your Guardians, one of your frontliners away, Enix are going to try and aggress.
Unfortunately for Burrito, they just don't have anybody else on their team who can really take in all of the engagement damage from Enix. I mean, you've got a Bellona, a Ravana, a Xing, and then, oh, by the way, you can have another Bellona, Ravana, or Xing because Lawbster's here.
Well, there's the Fire Giant for Enix once again, and now there's only Phoenixes remaining for Burrito to defend. The defenses haven't been terrible right now, Taco. Do they get a little bit stronger on defense at these Phoenixes?
I think Burrito have done a pretty solid job so far. Once they started losing control of the game to Enix, right after that looked at prospected siege in the T1 for the Soul Lane side, it just kind of fell apart for them. And like I said, much of that is credited to Enix just immediately turning up the notch, kind of catching Burrito off guard, and they've just seized control of the map from there, and I think that's really where it just fell apart for Burrito.
So coming into this game, you said during the picks and bans you felt like Enix had the better roster of actual picks of gods here. What does Burrito need to do in game 2 now after looking at what happened here? Probably
look for a little bit better engagement. You typically want to expect that from the Bacchus, but Bacchus facing off against a Ravana, Bellona, and Xing will just struggle so heavily in trying to provide as much initiation. So if they're not going to look for being the aggressors, then they definitely need to try and look for something with a little bit more backline peel. Because DeathPanter right now is just getting completely torn apart by BigManTingz.
He really is, and it's been an awkward position for DeathPanter to be in right now. Enix taking their sweet time about trying to push in these lanes right now, really securing the whole of the jungle, stripping away the speeds and the red buffs from Burrito before they start to try and get their final assault onto these Phoenixes.
And Burrito are struggling the most from a lack of experience, so if you strip the map entirely of all the farm, I mean, there's really no way for them to try and contest you.
Yeah, definitely a real strangle coming out from Enix now. 2 players in the mid lane, just trying to make sure the minions are being pushed in there. The rest of Enix, though, on the left-hand side, starting to group up, leaving Faeles on his own in mid. Ducky on the forefront with BigManTingz shortly in tow as well. 3 people able to dive and tank tower shots is definitely a benefit to the side of Enix here.
Can't go wrong with that. Funballer with the cheeky ricochet onto DeathPanter, but trading out with the 2 soul damage as well.
A little bit of a split of difference here in terms of where the damage is going to come from, but now they're all grouping on the left-hand side. DeathPanter knocked up in the air, forced to Aegis away. Funballer forced out by Sibi, though, and has to beads, but Dzoni's waiting in the sky for the beads to wear off. Can he find Funballer? The answer is no. Funballer's still alive. Dzoni's still trying to go in a Funballer, though, as meanwhile DeathPanter has already fallen down. Lawbster secures Sibi as Dzoni trades out with Funballer. The Sons of the Last Tick were enough to bring him down. Ducky's still tanking up the front, which has allowed Faeles around the back, and he's looking for Kespainify. Fusify about to fall too, Taco.
Unfortunately, that's just not enough. Taking out Funballer, the overcommit was just too strong from Burrito because they had nobody protect their backline. Immediately, again, DeathPanter just focus out. It's only Kespainify left to defend, and even without a hard carry available, you don't need an ADC when you're still 4 members strong with creeps pouring into the base.
Well, I think they're out of creeps now, but I think they can backdoor this with 3 tanks still alive, and only Kespainify to defend. Burrito will lose game 1 to Enix here. They came into it expecting Enix to win more than likely. A lot of the fans at home would have voted for Enix in this one, and so far, it's what has been expected.
That's very solid gameplay by such a seasoned team. Although they're new playing together, they're still pretty new with the pickup of, you know, Faeles and Ducky, but this is a team that has players that have been competing at this level of gameplay for a while now. So you can see that they had no issues in responding to the aggressive factors from Burrito and just all around strong gameplay.
Well, let's go.